This week, HVAC 360 series Bigwigs in HVAC History salutes William John McQuarrum Rankine, a Scottish engineer and physicist most famously known for the Rankine cycle and the Rankine scale. The Rankine cycle is an idealized thermodynamic cycle of a heat engine that converts heat into mechanical work while undergoing phase change, while the Rankine scale is an absolute temperature scale. That means no negative temperatures here, related to the Fahrenheit scale, and it starts at absolute zero. Other little known fun facts about William: he never learned how to write a cycle or scale a tree, referred to every woman he met as Susan, but married an Alice, and was disowned by his mother twice for selling her haggis recipe to a neighbor. Suffice it to say, William John McQuarrum Rankine, our wigs are off to you. Hey, welcome back. Matt Nelson here, your host for HVAC 360, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. I do that every week by sharing information, specific lessons learned in the field, or talking with industry experts. If you haven't already, I want to actually have an ask of you to go over to YouTube, search up HVAC 360, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get my first 100 YouTube subscribers for that channel, and I plan on doing some excellent things here starting in March. All right, so what's up for this week? This week, we're going to be talking with Kayla Oldrich, who is the inside sales manager for Heresite Protective Coatings. This may be a topic that you haven't given much thought to in the past, but you should definitely get a basic primer in it. Now, you know what? That's a little coatings humor there for you. No extra charge. All right, enough of that. Let's just cut to the tape. All right, today we're talking with Kayla Oldrich, who is the inside sales manager at Heresite Protective Coatings. How you doing today, Kayla?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, tell me a little bit about the Heresite Protective Coatings company and how they go to market.
Sure. Heresite Protective Coatings has been in the industry since 1935. We've focused on HVAC protection since 1965, when our products P413 and VR were introduced. We really just target marine and salt air as well as chemical resistance, and those are the main areas we focus on for protecting.
So now you have some specific coatings for HVAC, but that's not really all you have. Is that right?
Correct. We have a full portfolio of solutions. We have baked phenolic coating that is used in the railroad industry, tank car linings to protect against like sulfuric acid. We have some other products that are used in the aerospace industry. So we do have a number of other coatings, but our primary focus is HVAC.
All right, so tell me about the different coatings that you have for HVAC.
So we have our P413 is the highest performing coating on the market. It is a modified baked phenolic with phenolic and epoxy. It is applied in a thin film, so there's less than 1% heat transfer loss. And we reformulated this a few years ago to really get the best of the phenolic properties as well as the epoxy being thin and flexible. This coating is applied at 1 to 2 mils. So it is it's very thin. So that's our highest performing product. We do also have an ES600 that is specifically a spray product that does not need to be baked. It is a 2-part epoxy silane, which is chemically cured. So this can be field applied, no oven is required. It can be applied to the coils as well as the cabinets, along with the copper piping or refrigerant piping. So that would be like our highest performing spray product. A legacy product of ours that we also have is our VR514. This is an air dry phenolic. This also is a thin coating that is resistant to corrosive fumes as well as marine and salt air. This is a long-standing legacy product of ours. And a new coating that we launched this year is our WB506, which is a water-based air dry coating. This is a low VOC direct metal coating. It exhibits excellent corrosion resistance, UV resistance, and weathering qualities. It has good adhesion to ferrous and non-ferrous metals, and the resistance against marine and salt air is phenomenal. We've got test data that currently is up to 5,000 plus hours. This is also an air dry product as well.
So now, the how do engineers typically specify your products? I mean, full disclosure here. Before Heresite reached out to me, I always identified Heresite as a coating in and of itself. It's like you'd select Heresite, a Heresite coating for a particular project if you wanted some additional protection on your coils. Now, that's not necessarily true, and now I've been educated, and now you've been educated to the listening audience, is that there are different products out there from Heresite. Heresite, I guess, is like the Kleenex of the coatings industry. But so how do engineers typically specify your products?
Well, that is one of the biggest things we run into, Matt, is that they do just specify Heresite. And Heresite is actually the brand, like you mentioned. And so that is one thing we are trying to combat and get to educate engineers and educate the specifying audience that they do need to specify which product they want, because we do, again, have a whole portfolio of solutions that to fit a number of different environments and needs. So currently, we do have engineers specifying Heresite P413, baked phenolic epoxy. The more information you can get into that spec, the better. And there are a number of specs still out there that just say Heresite. And that leaves too much ambiguity that the end customer may not get what they want by just having it. Because, VR514 is a Heresite product. And although it's perfect for some environments, it's not as robust as P413. So the spec would be met by applying VR514. However, it's not the level of protection that the specifying engineer was intending to receive.
Right, because they all have their strong suits and their not so strong suits.
Correct.
Now, I guess what I'll throw this out there. If you're looking for some sort of something for a coil, like a air handler coil, and you're wanting some sort of salt resistance, what's probably the best product that you have for that?
The best product that we have would be the P413. In all cases, if you can have someone apply that and then bake it, that is going to give the greatest, the best resistance. If you're not able to have someone apply that with an oven or have the capabilities of baking it, the ES600 would be the next best product out there. However, if it's just going to be exposed to marine and salt air, the WB506 offers just as good protection as the ES600 for salt spray. testing.
So basically, that the P 413, that's kind of a different product from the others in that it requires an oven. It needs to be baked on.
Correct. Yes, that is the one differentiating property between the products.
Now, typically, I would, I guess I'd kind of run into specifying the Heresite product or a Heresite coating when I'm selecting equipment. And so you really work, one of the ways that you go to market is you work with the OEMs to have them, bake that on or actually, put that on them to get that applied in a factory setting where they can bake it on, whether they use a third party to bake it on or not. But that it comes from the factory to the job site already applied, correct?
Correct.
So now there are other ways that you can do this because do you sell this product direct to consumers?
We do. We sell all of our products direct to end users. Whoever is interested and able to apply Heresite products, we sell direct to them.
Now, what sort of steps do people need to take? And I can envisioning, whether it be a contractor, whether it be a facility manager, what steps do you need to take to apply these coatings?
Well, in all cases, surface prep is extremely important. So making sure that surface is free of any oil, dirt, debris. All of our coatings are designed to go direct to metal. So there's no primers needed in any of our coatings, but the surface does need to be cleaned.
Now, you said
whether that's using a mild degreaser or in some cases we have like a surface prep that we sell with the ES600. So there are a couple ways to get that done. It just needs to be clean.
Now, you said that when it becomes applied to metal, are there some, materials that this should not be applied on? It won't do any good?
Anything that's not like plastics, we don't adhere to plastics or, but any, all steels, aluminum, copper, brass, we've applied to all of those substrates.
Now, is there any pieces of equipment that you've run into kind of after the fact, or that you've heard about that isn't a good fit for your product?
Anything that's pre-coated, you definitely have to get that pre-coated paint off, whether it's like blasting with aluminum oxide or like a scuff, but because the paint needs to be able to adhere and bond with something. So pre-coated product is not a candidate for Heresite products.
Now, as far as the heat transfer, now obviously when we talk about coils, heat transfer is very important. Adding additional coating, there is some sort of penalty, but I guess you mentioned it before. It's really not that much. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
The heat transfer impact on after our products are applied, we found through third-party testing is less than 1% heat loss or impact.
Okay, yeah, so that's excellent. Now, I guess as far as kind of after you've applied it, what's the maintenance on this? What should the maintenance staff and facility people, technicians, what should they really pay attention to when cleaning a product coated in one of your Heresite products?
We recommend regular maintenance of just kind of rinsing that coil, getting off anything that's settled on there on a regular basis, meaning maybe twice a year, for sure yearly, having that equipment washed down.
So I guess I'm just curious, since this can be applied just by a spray applied, brush applied. just about anything. What sort of unusual or weird applications have you've heard of?
So a number of like environments come to mind when you ask that, because I think everyone thinks about just coastal and marine and salt air or wastewater treatment plants is a big kind of known environment that requires protective coatings. But kind of a few interesting ones that have come about most recently are like a health and fitness areas that are offering like a salt room. Our product has been used to protect the equipment in those environments. There's a salt room that is used to preserve alligator skin for Gucci handbags and wallets. I thought that was very interesting that even kind of exists, and therefore Heresite was called out in the spec to protect against that product. A lot of agricultural, fertilizers, as well as the hog farms and chicken farms. And most recently I heard about kind of the egg farm. They've got the chickens, but then there's the egg room. Protections needed in those environments too. So it really opens up your understanding of all of the different environments that require protective coatings, more so than just marine and salt air.
Awesome. Well, are there any final thoughts that you want to leave us with?
I just encourage anyone with questions, comments, concerns, if they're unsure of, does my job require coatings, or I have a job that requires coatings, but I'm not sure how to go about getting it, to reach out, check us out on our website, Heresite.com. Call us, email us. I have a consultative selling approach, so we're always happy to help get the solution that fits your needs to make sure that you get the protection you desire.
Right, and I think the one thing that you had mentioned earlier is obviously even when you're an engineer and you call on a specific vendor, they may not necessarily be familiar with the different types of phenolic coatings or the different types of Heresite coatings that are available out there. So you might want some, go direct to the source and figure out exactly what you should specify and see if that's possible or available, and kind of circle back to the manufacturer's rep when you specify that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, it was a pleasure talking with you, Kayla, and thanks so much for your time.
All righty. Thank you, too.
All right. Thanks again to Kayla for taking the time to chat with me. Check out the show notes for links to things mentioned in the interview. You can find those show notes over at hvac360.com/156. All right, well, that's it for me this week. Thanks so much for listening. I hope this is helpful. If you know anybody who's looking to step up their HVAC game, consider sharing this episode, or really another one of your favorites, with them. This is by far the best thing you can do to spread the word about this podcast. For all those extra credit hounds out there, 3 simple asks. If you're not a subscriber to the newsletter, go over to hvac360.com and sign up for that for some more weekly goodness. Again, sign up for the YouTube channel, subscribe to that. And lastly, I'd be greatly honored if anybody wants to consider leaving me a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Well, that's a wrap for this episode of HVAC 360. I'm Matt Nelson, helping you be the best and the brightest in the field of HVAC. And as always, know what you build and share what you know.